You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! They score! Verhaeghe was also jamming away. It's a power play goal for the IceDogs. And they score! Hosang, first goal as an IceDog. Strom stops Shipley. Richie scores! Gets it to Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Welcome into a special episode of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all four of their great Niagara region locations. Thank you to everybody that's watching on the YouTube version on video. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell. And thank you to everybody that chose to listen to us on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Brandon Caputo here, joined by a special guest in Reece Doumani to break down the IceDogs trade deadline recap here. Not a lot of moves for the IceDogs, but as far as moves they've made during the season, and we're also going to hear from IceDogs general manager Wes Consorti on the decisions that they made not to make big significant trades going forward, at least for the rest of this season. So with that said, Reece Doumani joins us from the OHL and 60 podcast, is also called games on the radio broadcast for the IceDogs this season, and as well has ties to Niagara going back, before he decided to jump ship to the Brantford Bulldogs. But regardless, Reece, thanks a lot for joining us. I know you keep tabs on the IceDogs a lot, you and Colin Ward with the OHL and 60, so I appreciate you jumping in to give some analysis today.
Hey, thanks for the invite. And yeah, it wasn't the busiest of deadlines because we had one in August and one in November. But still, there's quite a bit that went on, and I'm sure we're going to have a fun discussion. And Niagara wasn't busy at all, which, to be honest, was a welcome sight. If I'm giving my opinion, I actually think that was the best move for them.
Yeah, absolutely. The hard thing to do was to not make moves, and I think they noticed that there's a long-term plan here. You know, you have the young core of forwards that they have right now, and you want to keep that window open for possible 2027 Memorial Cup if that is something that they want to try to achieve this time around, as opposed to last time where they weren't able to get that when it eventually went to Saginaw. So you almost think that if they would have went in this year, if they would have made a couple of big buyer trades, that they would have lost that 2027 year.
Yeah, I think so. And to be honest with you, I don't even think 2027 is where the IceDogs should be looking for. I think it's 2026. I think you have to have your eyes set on next season. And yeah, it won't be a tournament you'll be hosting, but you'll get to go out west and play a couple of dub teams, play a team from the QMJHL. Because I think next year's your year, and it might be the last chance that you have with Kevin He. With that overage season, he might be in the American Hockey League that year. So to me, next year is what you guys should be looking at. In 2027, I mean, they still could absolutely go for it. I mean, I would be in favor of the Meridian Center hosting a Memorial Cup. That'd be awesome. I love that building. It's about to call it a barn. It's not really a barn, but but no, I think they got to have their eyes set on next season, because I think next year is the year that they could really do some damage, not in the OHL, but in the Canadian Hockey League as well.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that too, and it's interesting because they don't have a plethora of second or third round picks like maybe the Brantford Bulldogs or other teams that out there.
We have 9.
Yeah, exactly. But they've been able to, stockpile and accumulate a lot of picks, and the IceDogs just don't have that luxury because due to them making so many trades over the last few years, and them revamping the defensive core this past offseason, which was almost like their deadline deals in the offseason, when they brought in Van Vliet, you brought in Virgilio, you brought in Scott and Brody, you gave up a lot of draft picks in those moves. So their draft pick cupboard maybe isn't, you can't just throw around a bunch of second and third round picks. you'd have to be giving up your top young players like the Brady Wasslins and the Max Creets, and I don't think that's something that the team wants to do right now. They want to show that they can build quality talent here in the Ontario Hockey League and develop these young men into NHL players or pro hockey players, which they have done in the past, but just haven't been able to do the last 5 years until Kevin He finally broke the glass ceiling this past June. So in saying all that, Reece, like, do you think that goes into the decision as well, that their draft pick cupboard just isn't what you would expect from a team that's maybe ahead of their rebuild schedule?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think when you look at some of the prices out there for what teams were getting for certain guys, I mean, what Kingston and Saginaw were able to come up with, props to Saginaw. Yeah, if you want to go back to back for a Memorial Cup, they probably could have taken a run at it, but how can you say no to 16 draft picks? And then you think of Sudbury sending 4 for Noah Roberts. They send a bunch away for Henry Muse in Ottawa, and it's like, even if the Ice Dogs did have that amount of picks in their cupboard, to be quite honest, it'd be stupid to get rid of them. And you're right, they don't have that luxury, which again, it shows that you build through a draft, and with the Robricks, with the Hees, and you're seeing it with Wasselin this year, and for some of the rumors, I'll put quotes around those, but if they were to make a significant trade, let's say for a Musty, if Sudbury decided to sell, or if Luchenko ended up being moved, both guys still with their respective clubs, Brady Wasselin's out the door for either one of those guys, and to hang on to him, and I'm sure teams called. We've got a big star. We would just ask for Brady Wasselin some picks. If I'm Wes Consorti, I'm hanging up on them right away. That's a guy you just couldn't give up, and I'm glad they didn't. But you also would have had to expect some picks to go back with them, and they just weren't there for the Ice Dogs. So the recognition that, yes, you have great young talent to acquire veterans to go for it. You don't have picks to go along with it. So, what's really the point? Then you would end up with even less picks, even if you threw in a 5th, a 6th, or a 7th, right? So yeah, no, that's great. It was a great asset management deadline this year for the Ice Dogs, and saying that by not moving any assets at all.
Yeah, and with saying that, I think there's something to be said about keeping the chemistry in the room, and obviously they've done a good job. Right now they're sitting first in the Eastern Conference. I don't expect that to remain the rest of the year with some of the teams that have loaded up at the deadline in that, but if this team ends up finishing in that 4 to 6 range, that's a very successful season for the Ice Dogs, and right now they've been taking it to some of those top-end teams, and they're showing the growth and development of their young players. Obviously they've had some help with Owen Flores, their overage goaltender, stabilizing the net and facing the most shots in the league and having the most saves. But when you have the development and you're building that chemistry and that core, yeah, some of those top end players would be nice to bring in, but you never know how they would mesh and how that cohesion would work. So I think what Ben Boudreau's kind of building there, plays into that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? And I'm sure we're going to get to it in just a second here, but I love that Aerosmith pickup. Maybe not necessarily. I didn't love the return that they sent to London, albeit London never kept any of those picks. They made their way to Guelph for Cam Allen, but I like that move because it gives you 307s that you can just throw on one line and, hey, let's see you guys go to work. And we saw it right away once the trade happened. He split them up for then a couple of games, and then he put them back together. Like, I think that's one. Yeah, you would like success, but at the same time, you're not building for a championship this year. If you can find chemistry within the next couple of months and in one round of the playoffs with those 3 guys, boom, there's your, albeit could be top line, but easily your second line moving forward, and that's a great line to build around for the future.
Yeah, that's your 07s, and you've got the 08s with Brady Wasselin and Max Crete. Brady Wasselin a 5-point night last night against the Saginaw Spirit, and it's just nice to see that they have years that they can build with solid cores, because we obviously saw the 06 was a really down class for the Ice Dogs, with luckily Kevin He working out in the second round, but they didn't get Dickinson to report, and then the next year they got the compensatory first with Rubric, and then being able to draft Zada, who has really taken off in his second year, is going to be at the OHL top prospects game. So when you look at this young core, Reece, because you obviously see a lot of the teams around the league, how they're kind of constructed, with you guys chatting on the OHL and 60, like, where do you put this young Ice Dogs core when you compare it up to some of the others in the league? Because to me, it's right up there with the best of the best as far as what you might see the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Top five, it's not even close. That's an argument, and that's a hill I'll die on for the next few years. The Ice Dogs are top five. You could easily say top three with their '07 and '08 groups, and throw Kevin He in there with the '06, and specifically for the Bulldogs, that's what you look for before a year before you're ready to compete for a championship is let's load up on first and second year guys, get them into the system for a few months, and let's roll for the next season. And for the Ice Dogs, I think it's among the best, and it's amazing that Robrick's got that extra year before he's eligible for the draft because that works out so well for the Ice Dogs. But for them, I think it's you don't make moves like you said. You don't make moves to over. Oh, what's the right word? It's there's you don't make a move to make a move, and I think when you have a young core as good as it is, just leave it alone. There's no reason to. These guys are going to be together next year. Let's build the chemistry, the momentum this year. Let's get into the playoffs because that was the goal. You got to make the playoffs, and Colin and I had talked about that from the start of the year. The Ice Dogs have to make the playoffs, and they're going to. I have no doubt about that right now. But yeah, when you put this young core up against a lot of other teams, it's really not close, and especially in the Eastern Conference because next year the East is going to be wide open. Who's going to be able to go for it next year in the Eastern Conference that you could think about right now? For me, there's two teams, and it's Brantford and Niagara because you're going to see an Oshawa Generals team that's not going to have Callum Ritchie back. I doubt Seneca's back. Danford will probably be back. I don't think the Leafs will have him up just yet. But the Barrie Colts are going to lose everybody. The Kingston Frontenacs are going to lose everybody. The Sudbury Wolves, Colin Ward and I disagree on this. They are not going to be good next year. If they have talent back, they're going to have to sell them. So maybe they'll have a first good month or so, and that'll be it. But other than that, it's set up to be a battle between Brantford and Niagara next year. That's the way it is. I don't see anybody else in the Eastern Conference making a push for a championship unless on Ottawa, a North Bay comes out of nowhere because Brampton's not going to have anybody next year either. So it's again, it goes back to if you can keep this young core together as long as possible and not change anything, little tweaks here and there, but not really change anything about it, then you're in the running for a championship next season.
Oh boy, wouldn't that be fun with the Bulldogs and Ice Dogs? I'd have to mute our group
K9
chat.
Cup in the Eastern Conference.
Oh boy,
finals.
That would be something. But quickly we talk about the guys that haven't been like we saw. The social media stir the last week, and it's just unfortunate because these kids look at all this stuff and all these rumors get thrown around, and again, we don't want to get into all that, but I mean, there's certain players that we expected to move that didn't. Quentin Mussey doesn't move, Luca Pinelli doesn't move, Jet Luchenko doesn't move, so like some of these top end guys don't even end up moving because maybe they didn't want to go anywhere, or the team just weren't happy with the compensation. We saw Sudbury sneak a few deals in at the end of today, but other than that, it wasn't like the giant fireworks that everybody was expecting going into deadline day. So as far as the deals maybe we didn't see, what do you think was the biggest reason we didn't?
Market was too high. Another thing is, and this ties into the NCAA agreement that will take effect this summer, guys aren't waiving their no move clauses. And I know last year it was a little bit more difficult to make a young man waive his clause to go to Peterborough in order for Saginaw to load up, and that being Aiden Young. But they eventually did it. But this year, you're a first rounder, you've still got that no movement clause. Yeah, I don't want to move. I'm going to go to the NCAA. Why would I pick up and ship out for 2 months and then have to do it again and go to school in the summer, because that's when most universities will want them. So that played a big effect. Pinelli, I think they're just asking too much in Ottawa. I know there were, and again, these are rumors, they're not actually true because they did not happen, but there are rumors of Mayich and Pinelli being grouped together. I don't even want to know what that price would have been, but neither guy moves. They end up shipping out Muse, but elsewhere, Luchenko, I still think he's back in Guelph, and I think George Burnett saw that as well because there's a couple of London Knights players that are in the way of Luchenko with the Philadelphia Flyers organization. So I expect him back. He might get his not 9 games, I shouldn't say that, but he might get maybe a taste of 1 or 2 games in the NHL, depending on how much he has left. But before his entry level deal hits. But I expect him to be back, and who knows, they might trade him next year, depending on how they're doing. If it's as bad as this year, they definitely will trade him. But that just the price is too high, and to be honest with you, it started last year with Owen Sound. They set the market last year, and then they're trying to buy, but then they couldn't afford it because of what they started the deadline with, which didn't work out and didn't sit right with a lot of people in Owen Sound. And you think, well, it's your fault. You set the price that high to start the deadline, and it carried over where it's ridiculous. And to be honest with you, seeing all of this reminds me of the Jason Robertson and Jacob Paquette deal the IceDogs and the Frontenacs hooked up on back in, I guess it was 2018 because it was before the new year. But and Ian Martin, Billy Constantino heading the other way, like, and all of those picks, like, just reminds me of that, like Muse for a bunch of seconds, thirds, Nolan Jackson. Like I mentioned the 2 trades that Kingston and Saginaw hooked up on, 16 picks, a couple of players. Like, the market's way too high. Even Gibson, the amount of picks that Sault Ste. Marie got for him, along with Brady Smith, it's, you can't do that anymore. And I think the NCAA rule, along with the first rounders not waiving their no movement clause, that's going to create a lot of issues. And teams that don't have picks, you got to rethink what you're sending back here. London, I mean, they can sign guys left and right. I don't think that'll be a huge issue for them because they really don't have a ton of picks over the next few years. But the teams that are getting rid of everything, Sudbury in particular, it could be a long few years in Sudbury because what they gave up for the couple of players that they got was ridiculous. And to be honest, credit to Wes Consorti for noticing, like, again, they didn't have the draft capital for it or draft pick capital for it, but couldn't have afforded anyone. So what's the point? What's the point in making any calls? So price was a big one, I think, for Luchenko a little bit more because he'll be back next year, but Pinelli, definitely too high of a price. He more than likely won't be back with the 67s. And then Musty, he's coming off an injury. Sudbury had put out a statement saying that we've built our coaching staff around you. They've built a system around you, which doesn't sit right with me if I'm a Sudbury Wolf. But a lot of that has to, and they think they have a shot, and they made a couple of trades and they're going for it. So they changed their minds. They did something a lot of people didn't think they would, and that's why he's still a Sudbury Wolf, and it sounds like he's coming back very soon as well.
So, holding back to the IceDogs a little bit here, Reece, as far as I know, they've got an older decor and an older goaltending situation, and they keep their 3 overagers with Owen Flores, Noah Van Vliet, and Andre Loshko, 3 guys that you'll hear Wes Consorti talk about that have been paramount to their success this season. We talk about, that you guys have talked about, we've talked about how much of a stand-up guy Gavin Bryan was the captain of the IceDogs, and having to move him to Peterborough because they had that extra overager. But they could have moved out some more overagers to try to pick up those picks. But I think it was important that these guys were helping that young core get to the playoffs and making sure that, down the stretch, on knock on wood, if injuries were to happen and they already had traded those guys away, then it would be really tough for them being able to limp into the playoffs and only knows what the roster would look like. Yeah. So keeping the 3 overagers, do you think that was smart as well?
Yeah, it was. Again, Van Vliet's committed to an NCAA school. I mean, he'd love to go and try and win another championship, but again, I think he's comfortable where he is. Flores, I mean, I'm not trading him even if you offer me 20 picks. I might do it then. But no, I mean, there's no reason to trade Owen Flores. He's the reason, one of the main reasons that the IceDogs are in the spot that they are right now. And then I think Loshko explained last night why you shouldn't be trading him. Again, it wasn't a guy that necessarily fell into the lap of the IceDogs, but something that a lot of people probably didn't expect coming into the year. And then all of a sudden you see Loshko is being assigned to the Niagara IceDogs of the OHL, and you're like, oh, Okay, cool. I'm in. So those are three quality guys. You have one in each area of the ice. You have one up front, you have one on the back end, and you've got one in goal. And for Van Vliet, I think he's the big one that you couldn't get rid of because he's got the experience of winning it all with the Bulldogs a few years ago. And if you're going to go young up front, you got to have that veteran presence behind you because they're as good as they are. They're still going to make mistakes, and you have to make sure you've got guys on the back end that are responsible in their own zone. And Van Vliet's perfect for that.
So I totally agree with that. I think that you need those three guys in the lineup right now, and I don't think what we saw with the picks for guys that even have more years of eligibility, the picks just weren't going to be there for overage players. We didn't see many OAs moved, and when they did, they weren't for massive returns unless there was something else included in that, not just an overage player. So I think that the Ice Dogs did make a good decision in keeping those three guys around. Before we hit the break, so as far as the ins and outs, in for the Niagara IceDogs, again, this is from the beginning of the regular season till now as far as their moves. So there weren't many, but as far as players moved out, Mason Ray, Gavin Bryan, and Andrew Vermeulen, as well as 2/3, one in 2026 and 2028, and then a 6th and a 5th round pick. And then as far as the players and assets coming in, they acquired a 2026 7th, a 2026 3rd, a 2028 9th, a 2028 9th, so two of those, and as well as forward Sean Doherty, and then the deal that you spoke about earlier, getting young 2007 born forward Blake Aerosmith from the London Knights for three of those picks that went the other way. So that was really the Ice Dogs' big deadline acquisition a month early. But when you listen to that, the ins and outs there, and how the Ice Dogs lineup's kind of shooken out, what have you thought of their move so far this year?
Yeah, you know what? Aerosmith is the one that I'm always going to look at down the road in the future to see, was it worth what they gave up for him? Because again, it wasn't a guy that's standing out on the score sheet by any means. 17 points in 30 games for a rookie is right where we expect a lot of rookies to be, and maybe 16-year-old rookies, Aerosmith being that 17-year-old rookie, but still, it's their first year in the league. There's an adjustment period for sure, and it's usually between the 30 and 60 game mark of someone's OHL career that you really start to see if they've picked up to the speed and caught up to the speed of the Ontario Hockey League. So this is a trade where you don't know if the Ice Dogs have won it until next year or the year after, because even next year is still a little bit of a stretch. But I love that move. I think Doherty provides a little bit of something that the Ice Dogs didn't have. He's got a little bit of size at 6'1", 182. Again, the guy that's not going to put up a whole lot of points, but I think for the Ice Dogs, at this point you know your guys who are going to get points, and Wasselin coming in as a rookie, but Robrick, he for sure, Loshko, like you needed guys more to grind out shifts and have good defensive shifts and hard offensive zone matchups against guys to rough up the opponents and to make it hard on them. And I think Sean Doherty's a huge part of that. So from that standpoint, really the moves were made to not necessarily light up the score sheet, but just to get depth and get some. Is roughage a word? I think it's a word. But no, to get grinders and guys that are going to exhaust your opponent so that your scorers can go do what they do and find the back of the net. And
until this deal, they only had one right shot forward in Matthew Paris. So both Doherty and Aerosmith are right shot forwards. That helps us too.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, the 2008 Detroit Red Wings had all left-handed shot defensemen, and they won the Stanley Cup. But in this new day and age, you kind of need some versatility and some different looks.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you look at that, and you also look at guys that are going to be overagers next year, like the Andrew Wysicks, Alex Asadorians, Charlie Robertson. So there's going to be decisions to be made on those guys. They kept all those guys around as well, and they have a full healthy lineup. You look at the 07, they've got 4 07s playing right now. You add a Gallianov in with that Aerosmith, Zada, and Robrick line. And then the 08s that they've got with Crete, Wasselin, Nick Frasca, Matthew Humphreys, their prospect goaltender who's marinating in the OJHL. Charlie Hotless is also a guy they've signed. So they've got a plethora of guys from the 07 and 08 draft classes signed. So it's definitely going to be exciting moving forward here with those guys.
Yeah, and you know what? And if you're gonna go for it and you don't have the draft capital like Niagara, like this is gonna be big for them, and it's unfortunate for some of the Niagara IceDogs fans that have come to grow and like these young guys, like these 2008s. Because they're going to be trade pieces over the next couple of years, and unfortunately, that's just the way that it works. And when you don't have the draft stock to trade away, that's when players start going. So, no, they've done a phenomenal job of collecting picks and developing players, and not just having them unsigned and play in junior B and maybe you'll get signed, maybe you won't. Like, no, they've got them signed. They're committed to developing them. And for those players, I think there's part of them that are like, okay, I might be used as a trade piece down the road, but that's not a bad thing, because then you go make an impact on a different team, and you get an opportunity, because that team would more than likely be selling anyways. So no, it's going to be a good future in Niagara. Again, I think they're ahead of schedule this year, which is nice. Nothing wrong with that, but I really think they could have a nice run next year and the year after, and these young guys are going to be a huge part of it.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. The window's open for the next 2, maybe even 3 years for this IceDogs team, and going to get some playoff experience this year as well. That's something that the IceDog fans have been waiting for since the 2018-19 season. So with that said, we're going to take a break on today's show. We're going to come back. We're going to hear from General Manager Wes Consorti on his thoughts following the trade deadline and much more. So stay right here. We're right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Back after this.
Pets bring immense joy to our homes, becoming an integral part of our families. But this living, loving experience often requires a little extra care and attention. That's where Global Pet Foods comes in, with owners and staff ready to support you every step of the way. Check out one of their locations today: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Proud show sponsor of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Are you currently looking for work in the Niagara region? If so, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thorold Stone Road in Niagara Falls. Their many free services include a fully staffed resource area open to the public, resume and cover letter writing, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment, training and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, and Better Jobs Ontario information and registration assistance. Check out their website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983.
This Employment Ontario program is funded by the Government of Ontario. Colley's Original Sports Bar is your ultimate destination for unbeatable food, drinks, and sports action in Niagara. Whether you're gearing up for a big game, winding down after a day at the office, or just looking for a lively spot to catch up with friends, Colley's has you covered. Their menu is packed with mouth-watering options, from classic pub favorites to unique chef specials, all served alongside a wide selection of craft beers, cocktails, and daily drink deals. With multiple TVs broadcasting the latest sports events, you won't miss a minute of the action, no matter where you sit. Colley's Original Sports Bar, a proud supporter of Niagara IceDogs hockey. Whether you're gearing up for the game or celebrating a big win, Colley's is the place to be before and after every IceDogs matchup. Check out their menu online at colleys.com. Give them a call at 905-684-1771 or check them out on Facebook, X, or Instagram for more information. Located at 223 St. Paul Street in the heart of downtown St. Catharines, just minutes from the Meridian Center. Open daily Sunday to Thursday till midnight and Friday to Saturday till 2 a.m. for those late night eaters. Cully's, it happens here.
Fuel up your day with Gale's Gas Bars. They're your go-to gas stations in the Niagara region. Remember, at Gale's, they're not just a gas station. They're a local tradition. Whether you're hitting the road or staying cozy at home, choose Gale's. Gale's Gas Bars provide reliable fuel that keeps you moving. Stop in for quality you can trust and service with a smile. Don't settle for less. Head to Gale's Gas Bars today, because when it comes to fuel,
You're going to Gales!
learn more at gales.ca.
This is Alex Asadorian.
Hey, it's Ryan Roberg.
This is Ivan Gallianoff.
This is Matthew Virgilio.
My name's Jack Brody.
And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's Dog Pound podcast trade deadline recap right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Brandon Caputo and special guest Reece Doumani from the OHL and 60 podcast continuing to break down the IceDogs moves at the trade deadline and outlook on the roster for the rest of the season. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in today on the YouTube version. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell to stay up to date with all of our coverage here on the network. And thank you to those that are listening today in your favorite on-demand audio platform. Reece, we talked a lot in segment 1 about the ins and outs for the IceDogs and the moves that they didn't make and why they're building with this exciting young core. We're going to hear from General Manager Wes Consorti in our monthly maintenance segment in just a few minutes here. But now that we're kind of in the dog days here, Reece, pun intended, 40 games played, 39 games played, will be 40 tonight with the Sudbury game for the IceDogs. So 28 games left in their season. Again, first place in the Central Division, but with those teams that have loaded up, you'd expect they might falter a little bit. But you got to say that it's been quite the turnaround from what we've seen a team win only 12 and 17 games the last 2 years, and just a collective between the players, the coaching staff, and the management, and trying not to make a bunch of trades to try to push this team forward and let them kind of grow organically.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned those tough few years, and with the IceDogs just crossing the 500 win total as a franchise this year, like that could have easily happened a couple of years ago. And I know every team goes through it. They went for it in 2018-19, and I know there's a rebuild that's going to happen after that takes place, but we don't expect pandemics to happen every time. So that doesn't help. But I think when you have a season like this, and I don't think the IceDogs are going to win the division. For anyone out there, I'll put that out there right now. I don't think you guys are Central Division champions this year. If you guys are, you prove me wrong. But I think that's the Barrie Colts division to lose right now, even though you're a point ahead of them. They just have to stop losing to Owen Sound and Peterborough. But for the IceDogs, this is it, coming into the year, and I mentioned it in the first segment that Colin and I were like, get in as the 7th or 8th seed. Let's see what this team can do in the playoffs. It's tough to expect a first round win. If it happens, awesome. But I think you just have to get in and reintroduce the franchise to the playoffs. And it's a great way to get the fans in the seats at the Meridian Center, because playoff hockey in St. Catharines is unreal. It's so much fun. And I still remember back when they installed the new goal horn, because the old one went for crap, and it lost tunage, or one of the things blew out or something. I don't know what it was, but when they introduced that new goal horn, fans were pumped when they first heard it, and the first goal that went in, it was fun, and it was only a 5-game series against the Hamilton Bulldogs in 2018, but that was one of the funnest 5-game series I've ever seen, between at the Meridian Center and at First Ontario Center. So for the IceDogs, again, for me, it was just about get in as the 7th or 8th seed, and let's see. But now you're fighting for home ice, and I think, as much as fans didn't expect it, I think they're excited about it. You have to be excited about it. And it's also another piece to the puzzle for this young core to help them learn how to compete at a high level of hockey. Is, sure, yeah, we can compete for the playoffs. 8 out of 10 teams in each conference make the playoffs. And this year, I think we've got our clear-cut favorites in North Bay and Peterborough, who probably aren't going to make the postseason, and Ottawa will probably squeak in as the 8th seed. But this year, when you're fighting for more than just a playoff spot, you start with playoffs, then you go to home ice, then you go for the division. For the IceDogs, you're fighting for the division right now, but the big thing is you got to focus on getting home ice in the first round of the playoffs, and it's well within their reach, barring like a 10-game losing streak or something. But no, it's even more important that they're fighting for that and not just a playoff spot like everybody had expected this year.
No, absolutely. And it's just going to be fun, like you said, to see hopefully the Meridian Center and the fans start to come back after the last couple of years. We've seen the barn full on New Year's Eve, and even good crowds as they start to see that they've earned the trust back slowly from the organization here. And with the region coming together for this team, I think we're starting to see more partnerships with the team as well. Which is another nice thing to see, and it's just good for the community when the IceDogs are doing well. Reece, living here in the Niagara region, past and present, that when the IceDogs playoff games happen in April, there's just a buzz, not just in St. Catharines, but around the whole region. That it's just something that we all look forward to.
Yeah, and football's over, so nobody focuses on the Bills anymore. Like it's so much fun, and I think from an not really an outsider, I live in Niagara, but from someone who covers the Bulldogs on a regular basis, covers the league, but covers the Bulldogs a little bit more in depth than the Ice Dogs through our OHL show. Um, and even through other teams that come in, Ice Dogs come up as a topic of conversation quite often. Whether it be, oh, did you see what they did last night? Did you see what Robrick did? Did you see what he did? And that was something that wasn't happening, and for the last number of years. It's, even Loshko hat tricks can make people talk in other rinks, and it used to be, well, Niagara's coming in, here's a win, let's have tickets go on sale and for $5, and let's see the team destroy the Ice Dogs. That's not the case this year. It's, you have to build an identity that you need to earn the respect of a lot of people, and whether that be your opposition on the ice, behind the bench, from other teams' fans, because they watch, they know, they see the standings, they know what where Niagara has been over the last number of years, and I think when you have conversations, whether it be with media, off-ice officials, about, oh, did you see what happened in Niagara? Yeah, they destroyed Saginaw last night, and Wasslin with 5 points, and Loshko had a hat trick. Like that, those conversations are happening. Specifically at the Civic Center for myself, I'm sure they're happening around the league and within the Central Division. So, for Niagara, home ice will be huge. If you can go to a 7-game series and get 4 games on home ice, whether you win or lose or not, that's a win. And yeah, that's going to bode well for the next 2 to 3 years to start to pack the place a little bit more, because it's not normal to see that place with 2,000-ish fans in it. There should be 4,000 every night, and on the weekends it's supposed to be 5,000. That's what that building was for.
Yeah, and it's just getting some positivity back within the community and within the OHL circles, that Niagara is becoming a destination once again where players want to go to, and it can be a sustainable franchise that has success year in and year out. And I think that they're showing with them staying put that this is what they believe in going forward. So with that said, we're going to take you to our monthly maintenance segment with IceDogs General Manager Wes Consorti, brought to you by Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road in Niagara since 2012. Here's what the IceDogs General Manager had to say about their decisions and decisions they chose not to make at the OHL trade deadline this year. We're back on a special edition of Monthly Maintenance, brought to you by Wild Bill's Auto Repair with the General Manager of the Niagara IceDogs, Wes Consorti. Wes, pretty interesting season for you guys so far. Obviously, the results have been something that maybe you guys have even thought has been a little bit ahead of schedule. You're up to 24 wins now on the season, sitting first place in the Central Division and in the conference at the time of recording this. So before we get to the deadline portion of it, just how pleased are you with the coaching staff and with the players being as a collective, being able to showcase where they are right now through the first half or so of the season?
Yeah, it's fantastic. The players have been tremendous. The staff have been tremendous. The players have shown professionalism on the ice, off the ice, in the weight room, in the classroom, and these are the results that that they produce. The players enjoy each other a lot. A very tight-knit group. And to see this success, team success, followed by some of our players' individual success, has been outstanding. And we are very excited for the next half of the season.
So as we look at the deadline, as far as your activity, nothing really around deadline time, and I know you guys believe in that core in that room, and it's a very young group that is going to have a lot of time to grow together. Was not trying to change the chemistry and not getting rid of a lot of your young players, knowing that your window could be open for the next 3 or so years, especially with 27 and possible Memorial Cup bid, to make sure that you kept this young core together and want to see them continue to grow with what the coaching staff has tried to instill in them.
Yeah, we feel we made the appropriate decisions in the off season, bringing in some certain key guys. We feel very strongly that our current young players need to experience heavy games at the end of the, nearing the end of the season and into the playoffs. And this is the only way to do it, is through hard minutes and experience. Ryan Rubrick needs this experience. Kevin Heen needs this experience. Ethan Zada, Max Creep, Brady Waslin, I can go on and on. These guys need to experience what it's all about. And we feel very strongly that in turn it will be a valuable experience for those players, and in turn will help the success of the team in the future.
Is it a difficult thing when you see other teams making deals and knowing that the hard thing to do is to stand pat because you know that there's a long-term plan here, and you also know that you guys don't have, a plethora of 9 or 10 second-round picks that you can, throw around at your disposal, because you mentioned you revamped the decor in the offseason and really you made your moves there, and then the 2/3 for Blake Aerosmith last month was really your other deadline deal for another young player there. So is that the hard thing to do when you see other teams making moves, that to stick with your plan and know that you guys are on a different maybe different part of your cycle than some of these other teams in the top of the East?
Well, our players right now are the ones that have gotten us into first place in the Eastern Conference in our division. These are the players that pulled us out of the basement in the CHL into first place, not only at Christmas break, but now at the trade deadline. And it's a huge credit to these players. Like, they have been through so much as a group, and they're learning a lot about themselves every week. And these guys are legitimate players. Like, they're special. And they are being, I think, treated at, like, if you look at all their production, like, these are big time guys. And we feel very strongly that these are the guys that teams already have, and we are excited to see what they can do. As far as watching other teams make moves, I won't comment on other teams, but we will see what shakes out. We feel very confident in our group. We're the highest scoring team in the Eastern Conference, and we're just excited for the next end of the season here.
And you kept your 3 overagers as well with Noah Van Vliet, Andre Lashko, and Owen Flores. Obviously, all 3 of those guys in their own way have been major, contributors to why the team's turnaround has been so massive this year, with Flores in the net with the most saves in the Ontario Hockey League, most shots against. Lashko near the top of power play goals, which is a big turnaround for you guys, doubled your power play percentage. And Noah Van Vliet has just been a calming presence on the back end and a big body. So instead of trying to flip those guys for draft picks, how important was it to keep those 3 core guys in the room with such a young roster that you guys have?
Yeah, again, Kevin Heen, Ryan Rubrick, Zada, and Waslin need to look at these guys every day and watch how they work and see what they do and learn from them. Guys like Max Creed, and they go down the lineup. They need to see these guys and the work they put in on and off the ice, what's required. And they've been outstanding, those 3. Noah, Owen, and Andre have been leaders in the room, leaders in the community. And it's just been great just to see these guys enjoy it and push. And they're really pushing. And everyone has a plan for themselves next year regarding those 3 players. So we're just trying to accommodate and give them the best environment to accomplish that.
Commissioner Brian Crawford was in the building last night, Wes. I know that was exciting for you and the organization. Obviously, he's known the Niagara community for a long time, and going to hopefully be part of that bid in 2027 if you guys choose to go that route. But just how exciting was it to have the commissioner down there, and what has he been telling you guys about the excitement and what he's thinking about Niagara as a destination going forward in the league?
It was great to have him in and host him for the day. It was very welcoming to see him come in and shake hands with every single person throughout the organization. And he gave us some quality time, some good minutes of conversation, some good pointers, and it's just nice to see constructive talks as groups, and it was just a great day for the Niagara IceDogs. So, very fortunate to have them in our building for the day.
Lastly for you, Wes, and we appreciate your time during the deadline here, but what maybe have you and the management staff learned from the last few years of going through this as far as the deadline, and is there anything that now in your third year of running the team here, knowing what are the things that you need to look out for and the things that you need to prioritize as far as roster construction, draft picks, things like that? Is there anything that you can pinpoint that you've learned now in the third season of going through this?
Well, we had to, lots of scar tissue removed throughout the years. That's no secret. And, building through our young core has been paramount. Building through the draft, as everyone has seen our picks coming in and being average, just being very, very good. And working through, just the process of building around key players and minor tweaks throughout the lineup if needed. And just nice to see wins on the board and the group really enjoying themselves, as a team. And the people that are around the team know what I'm talking about. It's a tight-knit group, and just excited for these guys. This is all about the players, and they've done everything that they've been asked, and big time respect for these guys, how the work they put in that people don't see. And it's just nice to see, to look once in a while. And today's a day where we see the Niagara IceDogs in first place in the Eastern Conference and the Central Division, and seeing our guys in the top 10 in scoring. We have the rookie point leader in the entire league. It's a good time to be an IceDog right now.
There was IceDogs General Manager Wes Consorti on our monthly maintenance segment. Reece, he went over a lot there, and I want to get your thoughts on a couple of the things that he did say, but biggest takeaways for you.
Yeah, biggest thing is the amount of respect he's got for the players to turn this thing around. And I know he's not part of the team anymore, but Gavin Bryant was a huge part of that. He might not have played a game with the IceDogs this season, but he was a huge part in turning the culture around with the IceDogs and in the locker room, and I'm sure was a huge mentor to a lot of the guys that are on the team right now. So yeah, I mean, a ton of credit goes to the players for taking on the challenge of essentially being the underdog of the entire league, telling everyone else to go bleep themselves, and let's go out and do it ourselves, and let's put Niagara back on the map and into first place. And it's one thing to be in first place at Christmas, and there really isn't a whole lot of time between Christmas and the trade deadline, but those are two significant points in the season where if you're in first place, you've set yourself up pretty well moving forward for the last couple of months of the season. So no, it's nice to hear that it's about the players, and I love that. And you know what, even honestly, the IceDogs, they needed stability behind the bench. It was time to stop moving guys out and bringing new coaches in. It's nice that Ben Boudreau will be the guy moving forward. I don't think we're going to see another flip. I doubt we will, or another change, I should say. But they needed stability behind the bench as well. And the fact that Boudreau will be coaching an entire season here and beyond, of course, is huge for the organization, because when you're switching coaches midway through every season, you're never going to have success no matter how good the players are. So I think that was really big, and with Mark and with Dan by Ben Boudreau's side and everybody in the back, and they're putting the work in. You can tell, and the couple of road trips that I was a part of, they are a tight knit group. They have a lot of fun. It was a crappy situation in Peterborough when they fell in the shootout, and then we had to drive home a little bit late leaving, but I had to drive home. The spirits were still up despite it being a loss. They collected a point. And it seemed like the guys were still up with each other and enjoying their time together. So, you can tell it's night and day between this group and some of the groups we've seen in the last 5 years.
No, absolutely. And when he talked about keeping the overagers and saying that these guys need that experience, our players have gotten us there, and he wants to make sure, he mentioned Key, Rubrick, Zada, Crete, Wasselin, like these guys need that playoff experience. So having those overagers and learning from them on a day in and day out basis was paramount.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are three perfect overagers to have for the Ice Dogs organization where they are. Again, you'd like to fill those overage spots with guys that like to fill the net with pucks and rack up the points as much as you want, unless of course it's a goaltender. But in the Ice Dogs situation, you didn't really need that for your overagers. You just needed guys that can help provide stability with the head coach and bring them along and just help in the process of bringing them along to where the organization wants to go. And with Van Vliet specifically, I can speak a little bit better on him than the other two guys, but with him and Hamilton or Brantford, I guess he was in Brantford for the part of the first half of the season, but guys really look up to Noah Van Vliet, and again, he's somebody that's not going to light up the score sheet. He's going to hit guys. He's going to play physical, and he's going to be responsible in his own zone. And if you've got an 07 or an 08 defenseman coming in, and you want somebody for him to latch onto, you want him to latch on to Noah Van Vliet. And it was really cool to see him get committed to a school in the NCAA because he deserves it. He's got a ring. He's had a lot of success at the OHL level. Sudbury thought highly of him to get him at the deadline last year, enough to give up Owen Protz for him. So that kind of tells you a lot. Ice Dogs obviously think a lot of him for bringing him in the offseason. And I think it's worked out perfectly for both sides. Noah gets what he wants, and whether it be a contract or an NCAA commitment, he gets the commitment. And the Ice Dogs get what they want, and a guy that's going to help the young guys come along and teach them the process of how you get to be good. Because at the end of the day, if you're not developing players, you're not doing your job. As much as you want to win, the league's about developing players and moving them up to the next level and being ready for the next level. And Van Vliet's might as well be a fourth coach on that Ice Dog staff because he's a really good guy to be around.
Oh yeah, he's a man amongst boys out there. It feels like sometimes. But the last quick thing, Reece, when he talked about a lot of scar tissue removed, building young core through the draft is what they've really learned the last 3 years now that they've been at the helm of running the Ice Dogs. And he was honest that they made some mistakes early on, but they tried all they could to get that Memorial Cup in 2024 that Saginaw got, and you just learn that when you get into this league, it's a different animal, and I think that what's the progression they've seen on the ice has been just as much off the ice for the management staff, growing as much as they have the last 3 years.
Yeah, there's a growing period, and again, I just mentioned it's about developing. It's not just about developing guys on the ice. Like the coaches are wanting to move to the next level. The staff in the business office looking to move to the next level. Luke in particular, he's up with Winnipeg now. Scouts, I'm sure, would love to be an NHL scout one day. It's the entire organization in the OHL or in the Canadian Hockey League, I guess, as a whole. You're looking to move people up no matter what they do with the team. I'm sure the athletic therapists around the league are looking to move up to the next level as well. Broadcasters look to move up to the next level as well. It's one thing to win championships and have a bunch of banners up in the rafters, which is nice. I'm not saying it isn't, but at the end of the day, your job is to get people ready for the next level, and whether it be the scouting staff or the front office, like you referenced, like they had to, and I've been critical of them, of some of the moves they made. I still think the Robertson deal was a steal. If he's able to come into camp next year and be on fire and just play lights out in the net, Ice Dogs win that deal. They still have won it now, but it'd be confirmed if he does that next year. But yeah, there was, you have to get rid of stuff to move in, and if you're not learning from mistakes, then it's really tough to progress. You can always learn off of victories. It's probably preferred because you'll have a ring around your finger, but you sometimes have to fail to be successful. And I think this is a deadline where the Ice Dogs could have really made a splash and gotten a Luchenko or a Musty. Never really heard their names surrounded around Pinelli, but one of those two guys, and given up a Wasselin or a Crete. Well, no, that's not really the move that the Ice Dogs needed to make. The move was nothing, and that's exactly what they did. So, again, growing pains, But yeah, you can finally tell that they did learn and that they understand how the process works now.
Well said. Reece Doumani from the OHL and 60 podcast and the Dogcast. Reece, thanks a lot for jumping on with us tonight for a quick analysis of the OHL trade deadline follow for the Ice Dogs and some great insight as well. I know you keep up with the Ice Dogs with the OHL and 60. So before you go ahead and give our listeners a chance to see where they can listen to your show.
Yeah, so OHL and 60 podcast is on every podcast platform that you can find. We are releasing new episodes every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, unless there's some circumstances that doesn't allow us to do that. But we'll have a full recap of the trade deadline coming up again Tuesday at 7. Anywhere you can find your podcasts.
Wonderful. So look forward to catching up with you at the OHL Top Prospects game in Brantford as well.
Yeah.
That's going to be exciting for not just the league, but for Brantford and the Bulldogs and everything like that, with Jake O'Brien being the captain, Reed Duthie and the Bulldogs broadcast being able to call the game. So it's going to be an exciting week. But again, thanks for coming on and look forward to chatting soon.
Hey, thanks a lot, Brandon. I'll come on anytime. It's always a time.
Absolutely. So thank you to everybody that listened or watched us today on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara Ice Dogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations, right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Until next time, for Reece Doumani, my name is Brandon Caputo. Have yourself a good night, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.